Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, joined by the 5'1" of the world, Jill Ciminillo out of Chicago. Hey, Jill.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
You know, it's nice there's nothing going on automotive this week.
No, nothing at all going on.
Obviously we're escaping the big issue here. The UAW is on strike, and it is a impact on all sorts of stuff. And so there's so much. It's a very hard topic for me.
I think we need to start with
The facts. Yes.
The facts. I think we found a really great chart on the Automotive News website, and I think this is a great starting point.
Yes, great starting point, and I agree. I think Jill's being here. So we have a starting point on autonews.com. It's really good kind of synopsis. It's an audacious and ambitious list of demands. He is Sean Fain's UAW president has made a very big demand, as you would if you're playing poker or whatever. Throw the big number out there and see what happens. So what's on the table? So we have the Ford proposal, we have GM proposal, Stellantis proposal. Stellantis, as you know, builds Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. I always feel like I have to say that, Jill. I always feel like I have to say what Stellantis actually is.
Because it's not like a drug, with side effects, because that's what it sounds like. It's actually formerly known as Fiat. You could do the whole X, formerly known as Twitter, Stellantis, formerly known as Fiat Chrysler Automobiles.
Yeah, it's just a terrible name, and it's a terrible name that came up with it. Whatever. So the wages, so 20% increase, 20% increase, 20% increase. If you're listening to this in the podcast, I apologize. I'll try to read these things off and kind of make sense. So all the automakers, let's see, Ford decided 20% increase. GM and Stellantis did 20% increase, including a 10% upon ratification with Stellantis, and GM did 10% in year one. So UAW demanded a 36% increase. So Jill, as you read this on the wages, I just want to stop the wages for a hot second.
Okay.
So when you look at their wages, is it 20% increase from Ford on day one, and then in GM it's 10% year one, then 10% year two, and then Stellantis is 10% upon ratification, then 10% the year after? Is that how you read that?
I read it as Ford's proposal is open to interpretation. Because I don't know that they've said. I think GM was very clear that because the GM. So you have to look at the wage grow in as well, which is the line under. And so Ford is saying, we're going to do a 20% increase in 4 years, like over a 4-year period. I believe that's what that means. Whereas the UAW is demanding a 30% increase in the next 90 days. So I think that what that's saying is Ford wants to do a gradual increase over a 4-year period, whereas GM is saying, okay, we'll give you a 10% increase in year one, but then over the next 3 years, we'll take you up to 20%. That's what I think that means.
Right. There's a wage grow-in number below. So every automaker is 4 years. UAW is 90 days. So different, time period as well. Tiers. So I grew up in Michigan, and I've been well aware of the UAW. My dad was a UAW guy, then he was a salary guy, and he kind of go back and forth. My uncle worked for the Postal Service for years and years. Is a big UAW guy. So I kind of. I want to be. I've understood some of the UAW stuff going on. So there's different tiers that basically what happens. So like Jill, if you got hired at GM tomorrow, you would get $15 an hour. You'd work along somebody else who gets $32 an hour. That's the way GM works currently, and they have a wage growing period, and then you have a period of time until you actually get promoted or you get on. Whether or not you actually make salary or whether you actually make full-time status. I've heard of people waiting like 15 to 18 years till they actually made full-time status, which, is benefits and insurance and better wages and all kind of stuff. And so there's different tiers. And so Ford says all workers paid equally after grow-in. GM says different wage scales remain for customer service or customer care and after sales and General Motors Components Holdings, which are companies they own. And then Stellantis says different wage scale removed at Mopar facilities. So all workers paid equally after growing. And the UAW says all workers paid equally.
Mm-hmm.
I think all workers paid equally. I'm a fan of that one. Temporary workers. So there's most companies, including GM and Ford and Stellantis, they make a really good use of temporary workers. Temporary workers don't get benefits. They don't get anything. They just basically get shit. They basically get shafted to get what you're going to give them. So Ford says $20 per hour starting wage. Current temps converted to full time after 90 days. GM says $20 an hour starting wage. That's it. Stellantis $20 per hour starting wage, and UAW says all temps converted to full time status immediately.
And so what they're saying is no temporary workers. Period.
Right.
Is that how you read that? Like ever?
That's how I read that. Yeah, UAW doesn't want temporary workers. The temporary workers are just a fill-in stopgap for booming cycles of time or things happen or whatever, and they don't want any temps.
So do you know what minimum wage is right now? I honestly don't. I mean,
well, that's an interesting question. So every state's differently. So Michigan
right.
minimum wage. And so
I
right
remember
now,
when I was working in high school, minimum wage was like $5 an hour.
No, I made like $4.25. Michigan minimum wage increased to $10.10 per hour, and that's 85% rate for minors aged 16 to 17, increases to $8.59 per hour, and that was as January 1st, 2023.
So you said 15?
$10.
$10. Okay, so essentially, this is double minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to look at it like that.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. I worked for a company and I made less than this recently. I probably am making less than this now. Because we're very dependent upon advertising rates and RPMs and things like that. I've made both more and less than this, but I'll tell you, there have been times in my life when like I look at, like I ride the bus and I ride the, the L in Chicago, and I look at what they're advertising wages for, and I don't know what it is right now, but I'm just like, CTA makes more than me.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being in the Fort Wayne plant this last December when I bought the Silverado, and they have trouble getting people to work at the plant because they pay so low in Fort Wayne, and people want they can make more money at McDonald's or Dollar General, and it's pretty sad to think about these workers building these $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 half full size trucks, and they're basically making minimum wage. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's a really interesting conversation to have.
But that's not minimum wage. $20 is twice the amount of minimum wage.
Right, but we don't know what they're getting paid today.
That's true. That's true.
Right. So this is definitely a bump increase in pay. Ratification bonus. If it gets ratified, they get a bonus for strike benefit, that kind of stuff. Because right now, the thing with the ratification bonus, people understand is right now the strikers, people on strike, are being asked to take a strike because right now only 10% of the entire UAW is on strike. They're doing a stand-up strike in different plants. They get strike pay, and strike pay basically pays for a can of beans at the grocery store and a can of meat. I mean, it's not amazing pay.
There was a Ford press release that went out, and I feel like strike pay, and I could be wrong on the number, but I feel like I saw strike pay as 60% of their salary, and that is paid by the UAW.
Yeah.
So they're not working. So they are still getting paid. They are still getting money, but it's like 60% of what their salary or their wages would be from the union.
Right. And strike pay is from a strike fund the UAW has built up over the years, which is an interesting question. Like how long the UAW can be a strike if they don't have enough strike, if they run out of strike pay. I mean,
what happens? I feel like they have millions of dollars. And
they do. They can be on strike for a while. The problem that they run into is Sean Fain has talked about a lot of times today about ramping up things, which means more plants go on strike, which means more employees pulling from the fund, which means more. I mean, more and more. There's a lot of questions there. So moving on. I'm sorry, I'm going to move on a little bit quickly here. COLA is cost of living adjustment. So cost of living formula triggered if customer price index reaches a certain level. That's from Ford. Union says it's projected to increase hourly pay by less than $1 in the next 4 years. I believe the middle one is GM. GM says COLA formula triggered if consumer price index reaches a certain level. The union says it's projected to pay out nothing in the next 4 years. interesting back and forth. Stellantis, lump sum payments or COLA formula triggered if consumer price index reaches a certain level. Union says projected to pay out nothing in the next 4 years. So the union says, hey, wait, we said pay increases to match inflation. So there's some interesting back and forth on that, on what's happening. Vacation time, 5 weeks for all senior employees, says Ford, adding Juneteenth. 2 weeks parental leave. That's really interesting. So 2 things. Juneteenth has been a really interesting conversation in the last couple of years. And then the parental leave, which is a little bit different. Usually maternal leave for the moms, but parental leave for the dads, which has been something in sports been coming up a little more.
So is parental leave specifically for a man? Or is it, hey, my kid is sick, I need to take off, and that would be like considered parental leave, like sick time, but sick time for being a parent, like to take care of your kid. And coming from a house now where we caregive for my dad, I would want to know if that would cover like time off to care for a parent.
So I just Googled it because great point. I remember, I guess I'm referring to parental as being a father, maternal being mother, and I'm wrong on that one. I know sports do this, Major League Baseball and NFL things. According to the Googles, Bamboo HR says, parental leave is the time parents and caregivers take off work to care for children or a new baby.
Okay. But it should also, in my mind, include caregiving for a parent. I'm going to put that out there.
Right, because you're going through that right now.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. GM says up to 5 weeks vacation, Juneteenth off, 2 weeks paid parental time. Stellantis says Juneteenth is a holiday. Period.
But we don't know what their current
we don't know what the current
vacation is.
You're correct. The union says more time off and paid holidays. Okay. Layoff protection. So layoff protection. So GM says Ford says majority of pay for limited time. GM says majority of time pay for limited time. Stellantis says majority of pay for limited time. And then UAW says continue to pay during layoffs and right to strike over plant closures. Different there. So retirement benefit, 401 contribution no longer capped at 2,880 hours a year. The Stellantis and GM both say 401k contributions. And then UAW wants returned to defined benefit pensions. I don't know. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna.
I don't know that anybody has pensions anymore. I would be curious if anybody knows of a company that, I think most companies are going away from pensions. I feel like my sister works for Eli Lilly in Indianapolis, and I think she has an option for a pension after so many years. But I know a lot of companies have done away with pensions.
Yeah, pensions are really tough for companies because paying retirees in retirement it's tough business. And so a lot of times they want to do away with pensions, do away with that kind of stuff. I get it. My wife actually has a pension. Huh. And that's through the state of Nebraska. She has
governments often
government. Yeah, she has a government pension. So yeah, I don't know. It's no, Agent Carter says profit sharing would be a better thing to ask for. They actually get profit sharing right now too. So yeah, that's not a question either. And Wake Mafia, come on, man, that's 1950s Jimmy Hoffa Mafia stuff. This is not the old UAW. And I would say this in defense of UAW's history, this come a lot in comments. Any organization with over 100 years of history is going to have controversy. It's just they're going to have the good times and bad times, and so it is interesting. So we're on strike day 4. Since I have friends and family directly impacted by this strike, I'm watching news really closely. I've been kind of a news hound on this. Sean Fain says they had the conversations this weekend with, I believe it was Ford, he said. I believe it was Ford. And they were good conversations. And that's all I had to say. And there's no moving forward. He just rejected the 21% increase in pay from Chrysler or Stellantis now. I just want to call it Chrysler. So I don't know. It's a lots going on, lots of controversy. As I said in the other video I did last week, there's going to be far-reaching impacts. My dad just informed me that 2,000 GM employees got laid off, temporary employees got laid off. Ford told 600 temporary employees not to come back. There's talk about the GM truck plants having problems building new full-size trucks because of part shortages. I think that's the underlying thing people understand. It's like, oh, I bought a Colorado. I don't care. The Colorado plant's closed for a little bit. No big deal. I'll just wait for my truck a little longer or whatever. I'll just wait for it. Part supplies.
Well, and Auto News, actually, one of the articles in their coverage for the UAW strike is, it says the first auto supplier plans layoffs. So yeah, it's a Michigan-based contract manufacturing supplier. It's going to lay off 293 employees. So I mean, once the suppliers start laying off employees, there's a domino that happens.
Yeah, I mean it's huge. Dave, Multi Nation give you $1 for every foot of you. Thanks, Dave, for the $5 super chat. Yeah, it's a domino effect, and I also think about so when you get vehicles delivered to a dealership, those are contractors who work for some company. They're mom and pop stuff, and so if they can't deliver vehicles because no vehicles are there to be delivered, there goes those guys out of work as well. I mean, people, I think people have this the view of putting my hands next to my ears, going Michigan, 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 Michigan. And that's all it is, Michigan, Michigan, Michigan. And I think the reality of things is the automotive market is far more reaching than that. And I had said I had said in the video, I said, other automakers are being impacted by this. Somebody's like, well, that's just garbage. Toyota's fine. They don't have a union, no big deal. And I'm like, no, once Toyota employees in San Antonio start seeing all the strike stuff and whether they can get better benefits or not, or auto suppliers like Takata, who builds airbags, if they slow down and they don't produce many airbags, that's going to impact Toyota, Nissan, Honda.
Does Honda still do airbags?
I don't know if they still do.
I don't think they do anymore.
Right. But I guess my point of view is you get some big suppliers like that, tier 1 suppliers. If they don't stop building stuff, it's like that's going to happen. And outside of reviews brings up a good point, and I was going to bring this up too, is that the Unifor in Canada has set the strike as well. Their UAW equivalent up there. And you're right. I follow Unifor for years. My dad actually went to Oshawa a few times, helped set up some parts up there and build vehicles up there. And Unifor just got done with the strike. They actually brought back the Silverado and Sierra production because GM was going to kill that production, and Unifor brought that back. And so Unifor, it's very controversial. And yeah, and Dave says Nissan has voted every 5-7 years, and these talks ramp up more for import brands join. He's absolutely spot on correct. I think it's very spot on. VW's been trying to do this as union talks for years. And if these workers at these plants look at the stuff and think, my goodness, I can get more for this, more for that, it's whatever. It's very interesting. And I have friends I went to high school with and went to college with. They're not college, but high school and grade school with, who work at these plants in Flint and in Warren, or no, farther Warren down, but in Fort Wayne and such. And I have good friends that work at these plants, so I'm gonna have a hard time with this one. It's been difficult for me to talk about, although I'm watching news crazy, because somebody said to me, they said in the comments, they said, Tim, you did disservice for your subs by not picking a side. I can't pick a side. Like, I think both sides have some good and bad. I think there's good side. Both sides have some point of view. I can't just automatically pick a side.
Well, and by the way, as a journalist, you're not supposed to pick a side,
right? And
and I mean, it's hard. And personally, both of us have opinions,
right?
But it is our job not to let you know what our opinions are. And if you can guess what our opinions are, we are not doing our job.
Right. Well, and honestly, I mean, flat out, honestly, journalists or not, I'm conflicted. I think there's good points to both sides, and that's always that's why I became a journalist. I went to English 10-20, whatever. And my professor told me, she goes, it's persuasive writing, and you make me upset because you don't pick a side, and you're so good at presenting both sides. I don't know what side you're on. And I'm like, that because I can see both sides. It's not like I'm being like a jerk about this. I'm not trying to be
you're being a jerk about other things, but not this.
Right. I'm jerking about many things. But I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm just trying to say, I'm a journalist. I can see both sides' points of view. I have pros and cons, both ones. I don't like certain things that some people say, but don't like them to say it. I have opinions, but I like seeing the whole picture. And I feel like if I launch into opinion and a tirade about different things, then I'm obviously not looking at the whole picture, because there are points of view on both sides. And I know So it's funny because I'll play golf with my dad's friends who are all UAW guys. I'll listen to their point of view, and then I go and I have dinner with the engineers and other journalists, whatever, at a dinner, and I hear their points of view too. And both sides are pretty persuasive. And you don't want to be. I'm not like I'm pushed one way or the other. I feel for both sides in this. I think that the thing that I think about with strikes is that nobody wins. At the end of the day, nobody really wins. People are out of money. That strikers are out of money. They're forced to make sacrifices. They get some sort of pay increase. Maybe the companies are strapped now for different cash reasons because of the pay increases. They have to change the way to do business. Can they afford to change business? Yeah, they've had record profits. Yes, but record profits, we need them for the EV transition. EV transition is, you might as well step on a landmine outside because whatever opinion you have on that is ridiculous. Jill and I cannot discuss EVs without an argument about whether it's electric vehicles, electric trucks, is electric SUVs. How do we word it? I mean, that like we have
EVs,
arguments
colors, everything.
Right. Jill and I have arguments all the time about this too. And so it's like we have, there's a lot of discussions we have behind the scenes about things you guys would be like. I think the average person, if they watch this channel and actually got behind the scenes of this, they'd roll their eyes at us because the stuff we argue about, it means a lot to us, and we try to make improvements. But it's like
we argue about run-on sentences.
Right. We argue about things that we don't argue. I think that people think we'd argued about like the horsepower numbers or the fuel economy. We don't argue about that. We argue about titles and tags and run-on sentences and inline links and
title caps, Oxford commas,
caps and Oxford commas, which I love to throw them in there occasionally. Mess with Joe
all the time. You throw them in all the time.
Right. So yeah, that's stuff we argue about. We don't really argue about the industry besides what we're talking about here, but not really arguing tonight. But all right, so let's move along because I think we could spend the rest of our lives talking about the union stuff because there's so much controversy, and I still to this day want to know where Jimmy Hoffa is buried. That's all I'm gonna say. Where is he buried?
Chicago. Come on, we all know that. He's in Chicago.
I remember growing in Michigan, and it'd be live news. We're digging up this guy's backyard looking for Jimmy Hoffa yet again. And I'm like, oh.
He's under a building in Chicago.
Oh, that's so cute. Two Explorer videos spelled grammar wrong.
Unless, of course, he's referring to Andy Grammer.
Oh, yes. Mike S. fixed it. So, yes, we have some arguments in the comments. See, people in the comments are arguing about stuff, too. So, I don't know. It's a very, like I said, I've been watching the news, quite frankly, every day. And I'm watching Sean Fain. I've been listening to Mary Bear. I've been listening to Jim Farley. I've been listening. I wish Stellantis would pick some freaking CEO to talk about on camera because there's whispers out of those guys. But I'd love to hear more about this because I think it's going to be impactful. It's going to be impactful with consumers. Truck pricing could be impacted. Now I'll get to the second part of this. But number 2, number 3, we got several things. 2024 Ford F-150 worth it. I did it that way because I did a video earlier today, which Jill, in her brilliance, she talking about doing this video.
My brilliance?
Yes. Did you put that down on your calendar?
You know what? I'm taking a screenshot of that right now, and I will make a notation.
So while we were walking around the Ford F-150 display on Monday before the reveal on Tuesday, we had talked about doing a couple of different videos, and she asked me to do one based on the fact I had bought a 2021 F-150 XLT Power Boost, and would I buy a Ford again? And I did a video at the event, and it turns out my video was wrong. I was flat out wrong. The build and price tool was not up, and so fortunately I caught that before I hit published and get the video done. Luckily, because I usually make the mistake and I publish it and I take it down. It's because I'm always in a hurry. It's my fault. And so I did not. And so I went to build and price tool, and it turns out the tremor was not available in the Power Boost engine, according to the build and price tool I had seen at that day, at that time. I say like that. Holy cow. Woo. And so I did a video today because I was curious. I had found my sales sticker for the XLT I bought 21, and I compared it the best way I could to the 2024 M50, and I was pretty shocked. I was really frankly shocked. And so the difference in price between what I had then and now was $7,000. and there's really nothing there that makes me say $7,000. What's interestingly enough is that I love the panoramic moonroof. You've seen you've had panoramic moonroofs, Joel, as a press vehicle. I like them. It brings more daylight in the wintertime, especially when the gray days in Chicago, gray days in Nebraska. Open the pano, you get more sunlight in the cabin. The cabin feels more sunny in there, more fun to be in. And for me to add the pano moonroof I had to go to the 303A. I think it's 303 this year. A high package, which is $7,000 more. I cannot add it in the mid trim package, even as a standalone option. And so, wow, $68,000 for a Ford F-150 XLT. The work truck is XL. This is like 1.7 work truck. I get that it's more standard features, but come on, man. I mean, we're pushing 70,000 for XLT. And so I have this is fascinating. I have a Jeep Wrangler 392 outside, Rubicon. That's $93,000 for a Wrangler. I holy cow. Yeah. So I don't know. It's very interesting. This is a good question. Yes. So somebody has paid lightning costs. Again, I think EVs are really pushing this change in pricing. We're going through a really good fluctuation stuff. But this is a question. I know my thoughts on this, but Jill, in your brilliance and who you are, do you all like the new Ford tailgate? First of all, Sam Wolf, I love the fact you said you all. Like, thank God somebody said you all. Jill's already correcting you in a grammar.
I want to say that he grammatically correctly, did the apostrophe correctly. So
right. So Jill's already editing. Yes, Jill, but you all. So you all, perfect, awesome, love it. How do you think it stacks up as the tailgate wars go on? Because we had the engineer who said tailgate wars are over. This is our new tailgate. This is the way it's got to be.
I mean, I like the idea of a tailgate that swings out and comes down, because then it makes it easier to access bed things. Being somebody who's short, like having to lean over a tailgate, like I'm more often than not, like I end up like doing the Superman into the tailgate to try to like access something because I can't reach it, or I have to like awkwardly climb into the bed to get it and get my foot stuck in the process. Right. I don't know. I mean, in some ways I feel like what they did was novel, but then kind of copying what is already out there. Cause like you've got the Ridgeline, I think swings out, but it swings out all the way.
Right.
And
it's
then
a full door, yeah.
You have the Ram, which has the like barn door.
Yep.
I don't know.
So if you're listening to the podcast and you haven't seen anything in 2024 and 50, so let me talk about a couple of things. First of all, Power Boost production is doubling. So hybrid production is going from 10% to 20%, whatever. It's not a big deal. The price difference, though, for Power Boost versus EcoBoost is the same price. The grill is different. The new logo on the Ford front is different, which is funny. They didn't really mention it, but we asked them. They kind of coy about, we have a new change there. It was kind of interesting. The 3.3 liter natural aspirated V6 for the fleet customers is gone. And so they have this new tailgate. The tailgate is, if I were to think about this as a way to describe it without having to be able to see it, if you listen to the podcast version. So basically think about putting a door in the middle of the tailgate. You're leaving like, say 10% each side of the tailgate, and they have a door in the middle. It's like 80% of the tailgate. It opens one way from the driver's side only. It doesn't swing other ways, whatever. You can fold the tailgate down completely, or you can open this door. The idea here is if you hook up to a trailer, hooked up to something, you can open the door and then reach like your cooler, which Jill was very much showing her best Vanna White impersonation in the video. She showed the door, she getting the cooler out of there. And so that's the new tailgate. And I don't know. So let me recap here for a minute. If you guys don't know, if you haven't been around trucks for as much as I have. So you have 3 tailgates right now. You have the GM tailgates from the Silverado and the Sierra. It folds, it's multi-function, whatever tailgate. It folds down many different ways, folds down to a step, folds down halfway, folds down, whatever. The middle has whole operations. It's hard to say on visually say what it is as audio describing it. Excuse me, from an audio standpoint, unless you see it, because it's you have to see it. It's so many different connections going down. We have, like Jill said, the Ram barn doors, 60-40 split, and you have, well, I guess you could do the Honda Ridgeline tailgate opens up 100% on the side or opens up all the way flat down, and then you have the new Ford tailgate, which has basically a big door in the middle.
Yeah.
And so he had said tailgate wars are over. I'm like, oh, my friend, no, they're not even close. You don't know how America works. We're gonna argue about this for the next 20 years. But I tend to. I saw a Ram tailgate the other day at Walmart because that's where I go most days. The golf course, kids' school, and Walmart, it seems. And so I saw it at Walmart, and I still like the Ram tailgate. It's so simple, it's useful, and the thing I like about the Ram tailgate is both sides open up all the way. And I just told Jill this. I just put down 85 bags of mulch over the weekend, and to have both doors open all the way and be able to reach in stuff and grab stuff out of the bed would have been nice. I used my not sponsored deck cargo glide this weekend to pull the bags of mulch to me. And so I like that. If you're putting mulch in your bed as loose, I did bags. If you're doing loose mulch, you can open up both sides and actually sweep out the bed. Doesn't get in the crevice between the tailgate and the bed. I like that. I did really enjoy the GMC and the Chevy Silverado tailgate because they put those
situation.
Well, but they put those kicker speakers in the bottom of it, and you can have a beer and sit there and listen to the country music. And I just like that, the kicker speakers.
Okay, wouldn't the blood get in the speakers?
Oh, okay. Hold on here. I gotta get the photo out. Jill's coming back, and she's asking me for the.
I'm alluding to a video that he did.
Alluding to the video. I gotta find it here. Let me hold on. I will find it. So. I don't know if I can. I have it. I texted it to a friend of mine, and I always pull up his messenger every time this question comes up because I don't have it saved. So I will show this on the screen. Yes. Let's see here. So yes, 85 bags. I should have had it delivered. It was going to probably be cheaper, but the thing is, impromptu. The rock yard closed at 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. My boys wanted to help, and my older son is now 13, and he wanted to help carry the bags, and so it just worked out. It just everything worked out, and so I don't really plan this out. We had a little flooding issue in the basement. I wanted to get more dirt packed in there. I wanted to get more wood chips on top of it. Yes, that's what happened. So this is the photo Jill is alluding to.
Sorry if you're on the podcast, you're going to have to go to the YouTube channel and watch the video.
So let me back up a little bit. So this is a GMC AT4X. It has the multi-pro, I think they call it, a multi, whatever the GMC calls it.
Yeah, the multi-pro versus the multi-flex.
Multi-flex is Chevy, yes. And so I went deer hunting with this, and I put the deer in the back, and I had used the multi-pro to get the bottom piece of the tailgate down to put the deer head in and haul deer in. So I drive back to the house. I didn't realize, but the blood of the deer blood had seeped through the.
This just makes me laugh so much.
It had seeped through the seams, and I'm parking outside the house. My neighbor's driving by, and my neighbor's chiropractor. And I went to the chiropractor about a week later, and she goes, "Was that like a Halloween scene you had going on in your tailgate? Like, we're trying to figure out what the hell you're going on." And it was brown with the red. So I will tell you that I had gotten back to the house. I had gotten the deer cleaned up, and I actually, that was Nebraska. So I had to go down and get it checked at the deer station for diseases, then come back and harvest some meat. And I went out, and it was like 40 degrees that day, maybe high of 40, whatever. And I was at the car wash spraying out all the blood. And I got the blood down to like nothing, like water, the watery blood you get sometimes. I got down to nothing. And about 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from the press fleet, and he says, "Yeah, some guy in Utah got this here, and he wants to know, did Esterdahl have this last? Because there's blood in the bed." And I'm like, "There's not blood in the bed. I sprayed the hell out of this damn thing." I spent like $9 at the power wash getting this thing clean. Like, hello,
$9.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of the power washer. If you haven't done the power wash, well,
I haven't.
I was gonna say, I think the PSI, the power washer, would probably send you on your butt. So yes, that's the photo she's referring to with the tailgate. So I like tailgate because it made loading the deer a lot easier. Yeah, most things. But yeah, the blood. I was not aware of the blood. Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
Well, I had sent it to you as a joke, kind of thinking, what's happened? And then you said you have to do a video. And I'm like, I'm not going to do the video. And you said you have to do the video. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll do the video. So yeah. Yeah.
You got to do a video because people aren't thinking about, because I mean, it's not just blood that's going to do that. Like if you, like there's probably dirt and other mud and other things that are going to seep through. And it's just not something that you think about when you're doing your deer things.
Yeah, no, I didn't think that. Yeah, that was a great real world example of how to use the truck. And I will tell you this, that I did a video. I said not safe for work because I basically walked through what I did, and I did it I wasn't trying to boast. I wasn't trying to be that guy. I killed a deer for you, whatever. It was simple. I was on Facebook. Deer walked by. I walked out my rifle, knocked it down. This is easy. It was frankly easy. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I sent it in, and the feedback I got from General Motors was that they put it on their internal messaging board, and the engineering loved the video because here was a guy using a truck for what the truck could actually do. And then somebody said, well, it must be nice hunting deer in a $90,000 half ton with heated seats on and listening to the radio. And I was like,
yep.
Yeah.
It was nice. Thanks.
It was fantastic. Absolutely nice. I enjoyed the back straps when I got home. I really had a good time eating the meat. It was fantastic. So yes. Yeah. So yeah, that was quite the adventure last year, and I'm not sure why I need that. All right, here we go. Outside a review says, noted, don't use a GM to carry dead bodies. Forensics will pick up that pretty quickly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's another question about the two Explorers brings up. I like toys and tailgates, but how well they hold up in 5-10 years, rough or salty roads? It's a good question. It's a really good question, and we just don't know at this point. I mean, I've looked at I remember Ram came with theirs, and Nick Kappa was with us, and Nick Kappa was the Ram rep at the time, and Nick Kappa is about 150 pounds full of energy. The dude is like, you wind him up with a spin toy, and even Jill. I will say this.
He has more energy than me.
Yes,
I will fully admit that.
I think Jill would have a hard time keeping with Nick Kappa. Nick is a machine. The thing is, Nick's like, I want to say Nick's a little bit older than you, but not by much. But he's full of energy, and he actually jumped on the Ram tailgate as it was opened up, and actually jumped on there, put all his body weight on, and actually swung with it, and the hinge didn't move.
Well, and I know during their presentation, they said that they did test the bed, having it folded down and putting weight on it and driving with it down. And so, I mean, salt. I don't know if they tested it in salt, but they did say they did some serious testing on the bed with weight on it, or on the tailgate with weight on it, and making sure it would still work and all of that stuff. But they didn't say exactly what the testing was.
Yeah, I think it was interesting when I talked about doing the build and price tool with Ford. Somebody asked me if that was with the rust added on or off. I was like, all right. I'm doing the knife digging the side thing.
Right.
Yes. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. So Andrew says, simple tailgates are better in my opinion. Less parts to break. I wouldn't trust these new tailgates. Simple is way better due to just less parts breaking. I would say this to you, Andrew. I would go back in time and think about so tailgates on my 62 C10. There was no mechanism for lowering the tailgate. You basically manually lower the tailgate, and you have these hooks. Hook at the sides, and the chains hold the tailgate up, right? And as far as when they're laying down. So imagine I'm upright and I look down and I put my chain and hook it up and it holds it, right? So back then, when tailgates had this, you press a button, it automatically opens. That was a dramatic change back then. And so I think change is hard and we want to stick with what we know. But go back in history, I think you'll realize that we've had change over the years that's been good at times. Has it been bad change? Yes. Hold on. There's been bad change. I'm not going to argue that at all. But I don't think that is such a big issue as maybe it used to be going back in time. Yeah,
I just figured I'd put up the comment from Fubar Medic who had
Chicago. Don't even
Chicago Unite. But he had it for 3 years, 72,000 miles in Chicago, and never had a problem with the tailgate. So there's real world testing for Ridgeline.
Okay. So here's my. I want to go move along to the last topic tonight, or not last topic, the third out of the four. I couldn't fit all 4 topics on the headline when I typed it in the 2-word count. Jeep Gladiator survives, and I say survives because you and I have talked about this a few times. Gladiator is now dead in Europe. They killed it. And when I was doing initial launch, I was just the guy who's now with CNBC. He said it was a 1-generational vehicle. It's going to only do like 1 generation span, 7 years. And it survives for another year. But now to me, I don't know, lost its luster a little bit. So, Jill, would you recap for the audience the changes to Gladiator, top of your head, real fast?
Yeah. So we've got the bigger screen on the interior, which means they had to change the location of the air vents. You've got the grill is refreshed. You have, I think, the Uconnect 5. I think that's new. You've got the antenna in the windshield, and you have they've added the X trim to the Rubicon X, and then Mojave X, which just means more things are standard. And I miss anything big? I think those are the big ones.
Well, the big one for me is powertrains.
Diesel
only Pentastar B6 now.
Yep.
And that's it. And we had kind of talked about in our other post, Nissan Frontier was going to keep on for a couple more years because of the patent filings, whatever. But the Jeep Gladiator seemed like it was one of those situations where, like, to me, from my standpoint, it survived 1 more generation. I wasn't anticipating that.
Well, I wouldn't call this another generation. I don't think this is a completely new vehicle. It's refreshed. I think this is more of like a mid-cycle refresh.
They could have killed it completely.
They could have. I think the better statement is lives to see another day. The one thing that they didn't do that kind of surprised me, that tells me that perhaps the days are numbered, is the fact that they didn't bring the 4xe or 4xe. I still don't know how to say that.
I think it's 4xe. 4xe. I think I've heard Jim Morrison. No, not Jim Morrison. He's the singer.
No, Jim Morrison.
No, it is Jim Morrison. Yeah. No, so,
he's also the singer and the guy in charge of Jeep.
Jeep president. Yeah. But he talked about, I think he said 4xe. So you brought up a really interesting point in the video, and I was ready to close the video out, and Jill's like, oh, no, wait, one more thing. And so we have talked on this channel quite a bit about a plug-in hybrid version of different vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
You and I don't always agree that plug-in hybrid makes most sense based on my viewpoint is increased cost versus what you get out of it. Your viewpoint is driving to Chicago all day and never use gas. Great. We both have good viewpoints. We both have good arguable viewpoints, depending on how you look at it. But you brought a point. You said, why is it not a 4xe? Especially because Jeep said that by 2030, 35.
Yeah, I think it's 2035, maybe.
Yeah, some in the range, like 90% of the vehicles will be electrified, which means electrified. The thing with the audience that you understand, electrified doesn't mean fully electric. Electrified means in some way it's a hybrid or a plug-in or.
You know what? I think electrified even also could mean like mild hybrid, which is the stupid auto stop-start engine crap. Okay. That could count for electrified.
Yeah. So
you want to talk about something I do have an opinion about, and that I will share it very effectively? Auto stop-start engine. I hate it.
But you were absolutely spot on right, because Jeep overall has talked a lot about 4xe. They've talked a lot about how they're doing the hybrid powertrains, a big deal. Customers love them. I'm not sold on them personally, but that's okay. We have different opinions. But yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up, because I think you're right. There's no Gladiator 4xe, which makes an odd thing to say.
And especially because they refreshed, and it would be super easy.
Right.
Super duper easy, because like essentially, if you look at the refresh for the Wrangler, same.
Right.
For the Gladiator.
But speaking of plug-in hybrids, you had an interesting story you found from drive.com/Australia.
Yeah, AU.
Yeah. And the details are that tonight in Australia, or today, tomorrow, I don't know.
At
Is it tonight,
point,
tomorrow?
On the 19th in Australia. I don't know what time it is in Australia right now. It could
Right.
already be the 19th.
The 19th in Australia. Right. They're talking about launching a new Ford Ranger over there. And
variant.
But you're right, variant. But the publications over there are really doubling down on this idea it's going to be a plug-in hybrid Ford Ranger.
Yep. Yeah, wow. Because what is it? So the article, I'm looking at it right now. It says in a post uploaded to the social media platform Twitter. I'm just going to go there on Twitter. Okay. Ford Australia announced the new variant will be unveiled tomorrow, September 19th, with its short video only including the text Ranger Evolves. However, the hashtag Best of Both Worlds suggests Ford is preparing to unveil a plug-in hybrid.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. So I have not argued, but I guess I have. I'll just say I've argued.
You argue?
Right. But the problem with the plug-in hybrid is A, it's a lot more money. B, you have less payload. You have less towing. You have less capability when you do a plug-in hybrid. But also, on your viewpoint, where you've argued as well, you drive all day like you would in Chicago on electricity only, and you'd save a lot of money in gas.
Well, and I also, and maybe shame on me because I don't have the numbers. I don't know them. I also argue that most of the people who buy a truck are not using it for truck things.
Right. You're part of that 2% of auto journalists. No, you're actually part of the 98% of auto journalists who keep bringing that to me.
But you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Like if somebody wants a truck because it looks good, buy the effing truck. Buy it. If you like the way it looks, if you like the way it drives, if you like the way you feel when you are driving that truck, do that. But I'm just saying, you know, I mean, people who have a 3-row SUV very rarely use the third row. it's the just in case I need it thing.
And you get that, which is why you still work here. Because I mean, our colleagues, I've done toe to toe with our colleagues many different times, arguing about this stuff all the time. And I'm like, why is that a problem? Do you go to a Ford, or do you go to a Chevy Corvette guy and go, you can't have the Corvette, you don't go to track? You go to Ford Mustang, the GTD thing, and say, you're not gonna be in a track, you can't buy this vehicle, right? Nobody does that. You go to Lamborghini guy and say, you can't buy a Lamborghini if you're not gonna on a test track. The only time you can drive on a test track. No, you buy vehicles because you like them. You buy them for a variety of reasons that don't make sense. Buying a new vehicle makes no sense financially. It just doesn't. However, there is something about buying a new vehicle. There's something about buying the vehicle you want. Something about getting what you want. My sister-in-law buys a brand new Honda CR-V like every 10 years. And she drives. Oh, Jill went away. She drives it until it dies, and she buys another one. Where did Jill go? She pressed the button. Oh, hi, Jill. Where'd you go?
You keep adding me when I'm in remove, and I hit remove. Yeah, I'm like playing around with things, and I hit a button.
Stop playing around with hitting buttons.
Sorry.
Yes. Elliot says, your colleagues don't like full-size trucks. That's all. Full stop, period. And I will say this to Elliot. Elliot, I've noticed, has made a point of friending journalists that we know, that we are mutual friends with. And Elliot is well aware of the Facebook posts and things. And I will say Elliot is a very, very informed viewer of automotive content. He is. I tell you what, he points out things to me. I'm like, holy cow, yeah, got that right. Yeah.
I would take Elliot's statement further. Not so much they don't like full-size trucks. I think they don't understand full-size trucks.
Yeah. So, not to go on a tangent here, but one of the reasons I started. You're right, tangent is one of the reasons I started doing my job was early on. I was at the tracks and I was doing track stuff. And every journalist, we do track stuff, we do cars, whatever. I was doing compact cars, whatever. And I thought an admirable job, the best I could. And I remember talking to my friends my colleagues and future friends about trucks at the events, and they did not understand it at all. They were lost. And then there's a very famous ex-editor at Car and Driver. Should I say his name? I don't know if I can say his name. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'll just say it like that. Anyways, him and I we're discussing trucks in Golden, Colorado, over a beer or something after a event. He had moved there from Michigan. Big Porsche 911 guy, car and driver. Totally makes sense to me. We had almost gotten a fist fight at the bar. And I was literally, he didn't realize this, but I was literally really heated. I was really heated. And I learned early on that I am a bit of a unicorn in the business in that a lot of my colleagues just, I'm not saying a lot. I don't want to throw it in the bus. I would say there is as much as I don't understand EVs at times, as much as I don't understand sports cars at times, as much as I understand European luxury sports cars at times, I get that. It's a fault of mine. I don't get that stuff. I totally understand it. Jill goes to France and Italy and drives a Jaguar or whatever you said, or she goes and drives a Volvo EX thing. I don't get it. And I'm like, Jill, have fun. It's a long time in a plane, and enjoy your time in the plane. That's all I got to say, because I don't understand them at all. I mean, Volvo and I, we talk every couple of years, and that's fine with me. I just don't get that. I don't understand those vehicles, and that's fine. I know my blind spots.
Which is why you have me.
Right. But that's why I have Jill. Yeah, absolutely. Because Jill knows this stuff, and I don't know this stuff. I literally, when Jill flies somewhere to do some Volvo thing or a Jaguar, I can't even say it, or a Porsche thing or whatever, I need Jill. Like I don't, no idea. No, I can't even spell some of that stuff. I don't have a clue. So, but yeah, so that's what I need her for, and I learned early on. My colleagues didn't get that stuff as well as I got it, and I love full size trucks. I'm having a really big of an issue picking a next truck to buy because I really love full size trucks. I love the room. I love the space. I love what I can do with it. I tow, I haul. The 85 bags of mulch, no big deal. It wasn't. My son and I were driving back from Menards with the bags, and I was like, man, isn't this great? We all fit in the truck. I have more room in the bed if I want to put in the back of the truck behind the seats. If I need more people, like the first trip we did, my wife, my two sons, and myself went to Menards and got 30 bags plus some bags of dirt. It was fantastic to do that one vehicle without having to do a trailer, doing this, doing that, and hooking yourself up. And so I had a great time. I was like, this one time, because as Jill and I both did, I did a story years ago because Jill and I were, well, what do you think? We're arguing about this stuff. You really cannot rent a full-size truck, crew cab that has those people that has the stuff. And Jill and I were, I remember that. You remember you were adamant you could.
No, I was adamant that you should research it and write a story about it.
Right. So she was adamant. So I did, because it wasn't Jill, it was my colleagues who, Elliot has pointed out, were mad at me about this. So I wrote a story about this. And this story is still one of our top producing stories on the website. It's like, can you really rent a full-size truck for things? And no, the answer is no. The answer is not even close. You can do the same things. Can you rent a 2-wheel drive, regular cab, bed truck from Home Depot? Yes, you can. But you cannot rent a 4-door crew cab truck and go towing and stuff and go camping. I think it's the premise of the story. You cannot go camping with it.
Well, that's what you wanted the premise to be. And I was like, no, not everybody is camping. So let's talk about towing. Let's talk about hauling. Let's talk about other things. You wanted it to be all about camping. And I was like, that's like 1% of the population that's going to go camping.
Right. So this is why Jill works at me, against me.
I push you in a positive way to be your best self.
Right. So no, So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of discussions there, and so I think that was a really good discussion we had, and the article was really good because I went to Jill's home market in Chicago and tried to rent a vehicle and a truck, and it was not happening. Interesting enough, somebody said to me, like, "One just rented from Turo," and I'm like, Turo and the terms and conditions actually says if you rent a full-size truck and you go towing with it, they will not only will they cancel your login for Turo, they will fine you based on that. They have a whole thing. It's like, don't play around with that stuff. So yeah, it's one of those things. This they have a limp handshake. Oh God, limp handshakes to me. Oh, I have such a hard time with that. I met somebody who was dating a family member of ours, and he gave me a limp handshake, and I was like, dude. And I grabbed my boys that night. I walked in the kitchen and said, "You both come here, stand here in front of me. Let's shake hands." I said, "If my boys have a limp handshake, I will just scream at them in their faces. I cannot stand that."
Well,
But women,
no. And I'll tell you, like,
yeah,
I've had like dudes like shake my hand, and they're like, they do the, and I'm like,
the weird,
I
the
may
princess
look,
thing.
well, or they like, yeah, I don't know. And I'm just like, dude, I may look small, but I'm probably feistier than you are. Like, give me a better handshake. But I like go to my husband, I'm like, shake my hand. Is my handshake okay? It's a thing that I've actually worried about, because I don't want a limp, like I don't want to be like crushing your fingers, but I don't want a limp handshake either.
I remember I met your husband the first time, and he gave me like a whole like 20-minute sermon on handshakes. Like, it was the whole thing. And he's got and your husband is built like he's built. And so he's got a handshake that's pretty impressive. It really is not impressive. And he could probably break a few fingers in my hand, but yes, but he's got a very firm handshake.
But, and he likes to play around with that sometimes. Like sometimes, like he's kind of in sales, like he owns his own companies, and he is like does his business by networking and selling. And so it's funny because he'll talk about like going into a meeting and somebody will shake his hand and like try to do the really firm grip, and he was like, dude, I can do this all day long. You know, he's like, you know, what are you trying to prove here? Just give me a solid handshake and we'll be happy. But he's like the whole what with the Captain America, I can do this all day long.
Yeah, he's good guy. He's very And somebody says Jill's tough. We can tell. Yes, Jill's very tough.
Yes, I am.
I want to answer one more question here, and then we'll probably sign off tonight. But Agent Carter says, should get an HD truck next. That's what the majority of people should be getting, and they are not. They are being misled by marketing for half-ton capability. Payload's just too low and half-ton for FAM. Yes. So I've looked at HD trucks, and the problem with HD trucks is from an SEO standpoint is that there's not enough search traffic for HD trucks. I need to take the risk. I need to buy an HD truck one of these days and see what the views are like. Because again, end of the day, this is a business. I have to do it as a business. But yes, HD trucks, the payload has been a thing, and that's something that happening HD trucks a lot these days is less emissions stuff equipment on them. And so people are finding that it's like, well, I don't want all this emission stuff. I'll just do the HD truck instead. So I don't know. It's interesting. I have thought about it. All right. So Agent Andrew says, Jill is my mom's size. LOL. I view Jill as my mom because she looks like her. LOL. So no, Jill is yes. So yeah, Jill is very strong. All right. We talked about UAW strike day 4, the 2024 Ford F-150 worth it. We talked about Jeep Gladiator. We talked about Ford Ranger, which by the way, Jill, I don't know what your sleep schedule like, but I expect you to be up about 2 a.m. tonight. Did you bring to do Ford Ranger stuff in Australia? No, not happening.
No.
Okay.
Sleep is like my number one priority, period. And
so
then food. But
so whatever happens tomorrow, we'll have a story up as soon as we can get the story up.
Which is more like noon, maybe.
I have a tea time at 8, so you get the story done about noon.
So Tim's priority is golf. Jill's priority is sleeping.
My priority is golf at the moment because summer, sadly enough, where's my tissue? Summer is ending. And,
yeah, I do have my heater on, by the way, so I don't know if you can hear my fan in the background. Right. I actually have my space heater on in my office.
So I'm trying to suck out every last day of summer before I can. And by the way, Jill, put you on the spot here, Johnny, on the spot. We played golf, and I ran a mile, and the video, let me check my watch, is not live yet. I was going to
send that to you so that you can deal with it.
It's not. I'm tapping my watch. It's not live yet. What's up with that?
Yeah, I'm going to send that to you so you can deal with it.
No. You have to put together. You know the TikTok short thing more than I do, or YouTube thing, whatever. You can combine videos. I suck at that stuff. I need my.
All right. Yes. Tomorrow. Tomorrow I will make that a priority after sleeping.
So it's going to go sleep, coffee, video.
Actually, no, sleep, walk, then video. How's that?
Walk. Okay. All right. Yes, I agree. All right.
Yes, we ran a mile, and we went to a golf simulator.
Well, we did.
We did.
You
We
know
went
what?
to a golf
You know
sim.
what? At the end of the day, so here, hold on. End of the day, both things happened.
Both
I
things
ran a
happened.
mile. I mean, I didn't. Was Jill done 5 minutes before me? More like 8, but that's fine. I did my mile, and I'm gonna do. My body is not happy with me right at the moment. But I'm gonna do some more when I can. And Jill hit a golf ball about 4 feet. It's fantastic.
Which is way better than the 2 feet I was hitting it when I did the golf outing with my husband. So I'm going to consider that a win. I actually hit the ball, and it went someplace. I mean, often not the way I wanted it to go, but it went.
Right. So yeah, and I went home promptly and changed my swing completely as soon as I saw the video because it was ugly.
Well, and so we should back up a little bit. The reason why we're doing this is we have a 100,000 subscriber challenge. One of our fans, our viewers, said that Tim should run a 5K with me, and I should play a round of golf with him when we hit 100,000 subscribers, because I hate golf. He doesn't really like running. I'm a runner. He's a golfer. So we decided to, do the swapperoo. And Tim has been diligently chipping away at the run, and I bought golf shoes. And so everybody was like, come on, Jill, what have you done? I'm like, I bought golf shoes. So then I bought golf clubs. And then they're like, but have you actually used either of those things? So I went to Top Golf. I hit some balls. I did a golf outing with my husband where it was like the best ball. And we'll just say my ball was never the best. We'll leave it there. And then now I've done the golf simulator with Tim. So I do know that I need to hit some more balls.
Right. And I need to get better at running. I didn't take the summer off. I've been physically doing stuff, but yes. No, I didn't. I have tight biking shorts, but yeah, I'm not running in those. I do. I prefer biking versus running. What's that?
The tight biking shorts do prevent chafing. I'm going to put that out there.
Right. So I actually do like biking. I used to do I did 2 centuries in my younger years, and I used to run 5Ks or 5 miles all the time. So yeah, I used to do that stuff quite a bit, and I just haven't. I've had some physical issues in my body, so I'm getting back to it. So yeah, I'm going to get back to this. So summer's ending, which is sadly, and the subscriber count's getting around 98,005 something, and so I need to really bear down the next couple of weeks and get my running back to where it needs to be. I think I can mentally do a 5K. It'll be slow, but I think I can mentally do it. But it's not as well as I want it to be. So I'm gonna get back to that. Yes, that's it. All right, there you go. For more, check out videos on the website and on YouTube as well. Lots of stuff coming from Tim and Jill. And by the way, we're traveling a lot this next month, so lots of good details coming to you guys. There's some exciting stuff happening. A lot of exciting stuff happening. And yeah, check out that stuff. And then hit subscribe. There you go. Hit subscribe. 100,000 subscriber. And I got a finger up from Jill.
I have one more thing I want to say.
Yes.
In case you guys don't know, Tim and I are not married.
We got yet another comment today on the YouTube channel that we're married. No, obviously, Chicago, Nebraska, not long distance.
That would not be a great marriage. I'm like,
that's why people get along for not married.
Well, maybe we would get along better if we weren't married. Maybe, I don't know. I was gonna say, like, I could like try and find a picture of my husband. Here we go. Yes. That is my husband.
And yeah, my wife is nothing like Jill. I don't think
blonde.
Yeah,
and taller.
Let's just go with blonde.
And taller.
And taller. All right. Yeah, again, hit subscribe. 100,000 subscriber challenge going on right now, and I am busting my butt to get that done. So please, let's not subscribe for a while. We have more time. No. I mean, subscribe for a while so we have more. Yeah. Do the thing. But we'll work for you because we're that kind of people. As always, thanks for watching. We will see you down the road.